Sister Marie Carleen,
Good morning.
better known as Carleen, baptized
Kathleen
Kathleen with a K.
with a K.
Oh
Right.
my. But you like Carleen better.
Well, when we were needing to change from our baptismal names, obviously when we became novices, I really was wanting to get a name that would honor my mother and father. My mother's name is Leona, which was not a big thriller for me and my choice of names. So I was thinking Leona Charles, and I thought the children in school would never be able to pronounce that. So I liked the idea of combining their two names together. So I wanted Charlene, which would be close. There were already Charlenes in the congregation. So Carleen is my choice for my parents. And I love the name. I loved having the name. But my family always calls me Kathleen or Kathy.
Well, there's only one Carleen that I have known in my life. They must have thrown away the pattern.
Well, I don't know. Carleen Marie died in the congregation,
okay.
So there was one before me. Yeah, right.
And you're carrying on her legacy, I presume.
I don't know. I never knew her
Never
at all.
knew her.
But anyway.
And I know you're from the Detroit area, correct? Were you born in Detroit?
Yes, initially east side of Detroit, where we lived all my grade school years, except for one. At the end of 7th grade, we moved out of the city because my parents began to know of a big project called Urban Renewal, which was going to be happening in our area off the East Grand Boulevard area on the east side of Detroit, where we went to school at St. John the Evangelist School. And so my folks moved us way out to the suburbs, to Clawson, which is 14 miles north of the city of Detroit. And that's where we grew up the rest of our lives. My parents lived there until both of their deaths, and one of my nephews lives now in the house where we grew up. And my sister is there, and her husband, and their children and grandchildren. So
I bet the Clawson area was rather uninhabited at that time.
brand new suburbs. In fact, the houses in our area were going up literally one at a time. We were probably the second house ready in that little subdivision. And that was about 8 or 9 blocks from Guardian Angels Parish in Clawson, which is where our sisters were. And they had already been there serving in the elementary school there for a few years, probably about 6 or 7 when we got there. So that's when I met our sisters for the first time.
Did you ever go back to your home area in Detroit to see if urban renewal did happen?
Well, let me put it this way. Our neighborhood isn't anymore. What's there is a General Motors plant and a huge General Motors parking lot. So there's nothing left of
That's
what
where
was
you were,
our neighborhood. No,
where the parking lot is.
Where
now.
the parking, that's where the parking lot is, where we were. Yeah. So that's hard in a way because we have memories there, a lot of memories.
So what grades did you attend at Guardian Angels?
Just eighth grade. And then I was hoping, because I really became very enamored of our sisters there. They were just joyful and fun and loved the students. They just loved us. And my sister and brother, who were my siblings and 2 years behind me, my brother's 2 years younger, and my sister 5 years, just said they were so happy to be in the school, as was I. Our sisters are wonderful. But then it was time for graduation, and I was hoping that I could possibly get to Dominican High School in Detroit, which would have been a huge trek.
Like 100 miles.
3 buses, later. And my folks said, no, there's no way. Then my dad tried to get me into St. Mary's, Royal Oak, which is where our sisters were also, but that didn't happen. So I went to the Shrine of the Little Flower in Royal Oak for my high school years. And we had the Sisters of Charity of Cincinnati, wonderful women.
And Monsignor Coughlin?
Yes, yes, yes. Father Coughlin,
Of
right?
radio fame.
History, right? And I don't think I had a sense of him as much as my parents and grandparents did of hearing him on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
But he was quite the character, right? But my time in high school was just wonderful. But there was always something in me kind of stirring me back to our sisters. And I kept in touch with the Dominicans, with the Adrian Dominicans there, and would visit. And I think by senior year, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. That was pretty clear for me in my discernment. And I loved the Sisters of Charity. And I said if I hadn't met our sisters in that 1 year at Guardian Angels, which was really providential, I think, I would have gone to the Cincinnati Charities. But I knew religious life was what was, that was the call I was being drawn to.
Going back to being you really were uprooted from
Very much so.
I suspect that's where your passion for the sisters in Iraq and the refugees and the men and women you serve in the literacy, that's where your passion comes from, as I bet.
I don't know that I just was missing, missing desperately my friends, my classmates. But in retrospect, certainly not nearly what they go through, what our sisters in Iraq have gone through, or what our students at the Literacy Center go through. The hardships. Mine was minute compared to theirs. But it's not easy. It's never easy. Yeah, for sure.
Who was the Adrian Dominican that inspired you the most there at Guardian Angels?
Sister Patricia Marie O'Rourke was the principal of the school. And Sister Janet Michael Hudspeth was on the faculty there. Although I didn't have her as a teacher, she taught my sister in the lower grades. But it was kind of one of those things where the 8th graders were helping the little kids out, so I got to know Janet Michael a lot. They were just a marvelous, marvelous group. Sister Patricia Marie ended up sponsoring me in the congregation. And actually, from my same class at Guardian Angels, Kathleen Voss and Gail Singo, who is now deceased already, we all entered the same day.
Oh, she must have proudly.
Sister Patricia Marie was in heaven. That she had not one, not two, but 3 postulants all at the same time.
She was earning her badge.
Yes. And then 3 postulants that all made silver jubilee while she was still alive. It was just, she was a great influence in our lives. My life, I know especially. But
going back again to your life before Clausen.
Yes. Sure.
Did you bring all the Polish traditions with you?
Oh.
Were there other families around you that were of Polish tradition also?
Not so much in our neighborhood, some, yes. But of course in my extended family. My mother's side of the family is all Polish. My father is half Bohemian, half Polish, hence the name Maly is not Polish but Bohemian. You would pronounce it Maui, but nonetheless it's of the same Eastern European descent. We had extended Polish relatives. Polish foods were very much our tradition. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, my Grandpa Pilarski and Grandma Pilarski lived in Hamtramck, which is where my mother was born and raised, which is a Polish city right within the city of Detroit. So very, very much the Polish ancestry. Polish foods all the time. People always ask me if I know Polish, which I'm sad to say I did not learn, because my grandfather was made to understand very clearly when he and his 4 brothers came over from Warsaw through Ellis Island, that they would be looked down upon as their Polish ancestry. And actually, my grandfather kept his name, Pilarski, started a grocery store in Hamtramck.
It's probably still there.
And the store is not. The store is gone. But, served the population of Hamtramck, primarily Polish people, but a lot of African Americans also had started to move into the area. But it was an interesting thing that to be hired in the automotive factories, which is where my grandfather's brothers worked, they felt the need to anglicize and change the name from Pilarski to Pillars, Pillars. So I have a whole set of second cousins who are Pillars, Pillars. There was great discrimination. And you for sure would be looked down upon if you had an accent of any kind. So my grandfather spoke perfect English, my grandmother as well. Maybe that's where I'm sensitive to what they had to go through, and that brings my sensitivity to our learners at the Literacy Center too, because it was very strong. The prejudice was very strong, not only against the Polish people, but immigrants, period. Whatever country, they were taking jobs, and yet they were the ones that were doing the sweat labor in the factories. Automotive industry, big time, right.
I know, because I have observed you here, that one of your mentors through your ministry years was Sister Marie Damien.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Chain line, yes.
Yeah.
Where did you first meet up with? Where were you?
Yeah, when I was sent to my second ministry, my first ministry is in Owasso, teaching junior high school, St. Paul's, and then I was moved after 5 years to Resurrection in Lansing. Big school, big convent, 27 of us sisters, and we had a grade school and high school there. And I was in the grade school, working again, junior high school level, and Sister Marie Damien came as the principal of the grade school. So got to know her well, and found her to be just an immensely innovative administrator. She had been working here at St. Mary's in Adrian as principal, and just brought such creativity. And we were a large grade school, and she introduced to us the whole idea of the non-graded program, which was a huge event, and took enormous amounts of time and study, but brought dimensions to our learners there, our students, that would enable them to really learn at their level of education. And just examples, if an 8th grader, which I had, homeroom 8th grade, was really very proficient in math, but struggled in reading, I always taught language arts, composition, writing, and so on. Well, we would be able to grade them in kind of beginning levels of writing, beginning levels of comprehension, while they might be just excelling in math and able to really experience good achievement and feel good about themselves. And then bring them along during 7th and 8th grade so that they were really on level to go into the high school.
They probably didn't know how lucky they were at that time.
Well, I think after the fact. Because when we, had been working with them for a couple of years before Marie Damien came, it was evident by the time they get to junior high, if they have lost somewhere along the line some of those reading skills, it's a point of no return.
Forever
they would
lost.
Never be able to get into the high school, and they would never be able to do high school work. So it was very important that they were able to get on grade. And then so Marie Damien and I were then invited by Sister Margaret Mary McGill, who had been with us there, and was invited by the congregation to return to the Dominican Republic, where she had served for many years, and to establish a school that wasn't in existence north of the capital of Santo Domingo, in a very remote area of the island called Bonao. And her reputation had preceded her because she had been the principal at the Colegio in Santo Domingo. And this company who was building this plant to enable Dominicans as well as some people from other countries to have jobs, improve rice fields, do some mining there, and enable the Dominicans to really eventually take over those areas and companies, brought all their children with them. So we established an incredible bilingual, bicultural program, 2 tracks, English track and Spanish track, working simultaneously. And that was, again, her innovation, Marie Damien's innovation.
But you and Marie Damien, were there any other sisters joining you in this endeavor?
Yes, there were a total of 5 of us. In addition to Margaret Mary, Sister Mary Allen Stewart, Sister Yolanda Roy, and Sister Betty Hudeman were also there. So there were 6 of us all together to start this school, which was just really wonderful.
And then were you appointed provincial after that? Or
I returned to the States after 3 years and sought a ministerial position. I got kind of spoiled. Somewhere where it was warm was my criteria, if you will. And at that time, Sister Leslie Hartway, who had been my superior back in St. Paul's in Owasso, was doing ministerial work in our placement office. And she said, well, you know, the Diocese of Orlando is a growing diocese, and they are looking for pastoral ministers there. And although I didn't have training in pastoral ministry, I was invited to apply for a job in the Orlando area in Winter Park, Florida, doing pastoral ministry and organizing the parish, which was huge. It was 2,500 families, and they had already established what they called a neighborhood ministry, where the parish was literally divided into 30 little sectors in about an 8-block area. The point being that you had coordinators from the parish who were really responsible for the contacts and the life of the people from the parish in that neighborhood. That was all in place before I got there, thanks to the marvelous lay people who were in the parish. But it had grown so much, they needed someone to coordinate that full time. So that was my ministry there for
But I might add,
9 years. Yeah.
in Winter Park. Now that sounds like a dream come true.
It was every bit of a dream come true. A great, great, wonderful, beautiful place to be.
Was Rosemary Finnegan there at the time?
No. Rosemary followed much after my time there. And then
With whom did you live?
Oh, we had a convent. We were in St. Margaret Mary's convent there with Sister Mary Catherine Brennan, Gert, Mahala Lenzi, a sister of St. Joseph from another congregation who was doing pastoral ministry there, Sister Mag Hill, who was in the process of transferring to the congregation. So we were in the convent there doing ministry. Then
There was an election.
Not yet, not just that, at that point, yeah. But what I was really drawn to in the parish work was working with families, especially in times because the coordinators would say, so-and-so's mother is dying, so-and-so have just lost a child in death. And it was a natural thing for me to want to reach out to them, but what became evident was I didn't have a lot of the counseling skills that was needed. So I asked the congregation if I could study, and I was granted that permission and was 2 years at Catholic University in Washington getting my master's in clinical social work with a focus on working with the dying and grieving. So did that, loved my program, and at the end of that 2 years, pastor of the neighboring parish in Maitland, which was just next to Winter Park, was looking for pastoral staff. Again, another huge parish. And I interviewed there for kind of a two-pronged position, working with the grieving and dying, doing ministry to help the priests to prepare people for a wonderful burial for their loved ones,
Wow.
but also to do pastoral counseling for the dying who are at home or hospitals or whatever. And another part was the use of my organizational skills to kind of do parish organizations. So I was there for 11 years and then was called to ministry as a chapter prioress and was elected by the congregation.
And you lived again in Winter Park.
I had to move
Oh.
to West Palm.
Oh.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
But I left a lot of friends and family,
Yeah.
not family members, but people like family, to me in the Orlando area.
And you still keep in touch
Oh,
with
very
quite a-
much
yes,
so, very
yes.
much so. So that was our 6-year term, my
Dear.
6-year term there. Yep.
When is it a Polish tradition to celebrate Miss America?
No. No, that's my family, my crazy family.
Your family.
Has nothing to do with our Polish
Oh, no?
ancestry. They would
Okay.
probably just shake their heads in dismay. No, that's a fun thing that my sister and my mother, may she rest in peace, before she died, we just would do this every year. And no matter where we were in the U.S. of A., my mother was there in Clawson. My sister might be up north in Michigan visiting friends or family with her husband. I
And
would
you'd
be
be
in
in
Florida, and we would call each other during the whole Miss America pageant, which is probably not one of the more sterling moments of my life in the congregation or my career.
Didn't you dress up for it? Also?
Not well. It depended. Sometimes we had Miss America parties here on campus when I finally got here, but
Yes.
that's one of our more wacky moments. One of
Yes.
my more wacky moments.
Well, I know
Anyway.
eventually you were invited to be the director of vocations here on campus,
Yes.
and that's what brought you
Yes.
back to Adrian. Thanks be to God.
13 years ago, right. I was
Yes.
invited to be director of vocations, in which I did for 5 years. And then at the end of that time, Sister Donna Markham, who was prioress, had again been looking at the value, which was now 5 adult literacy centers in different parts of the country. In Florida, and we established one when I was in Florida, Chicago, and 3 in Detroit. About 2 in Detroit, 1 in Flint. And she said, you know what, would we ever want to think of doing one right here on this campus? Well, for Marie Damien, who was here on the campus, she had started the one in Detroit and said, why not? It would be wonderful. So she and Sister Sarah Kavanaugh really began in 2007 the investigative process of what was already being done for adult learners here in the city of Adrian, and checked with Community Action Agency and the Human Services Department and adult education programs. No one was serving the lowest level of adult learners. If you could take your GED, well, McKinley Education Center was your best bet. They'd help you prepare for it. Well, Community Action Agency said we would do the preparation for that. People who are maybe in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. But no one was tutoring people who are really 1st and 2nd grade reading level. And there was no program for English as a second language learners. Our city is surrounded by and has a long history of people from Mexico who are now permanent residents here. They're not just migrant workers who stay for a few months and leave. They're here, 2nd and 3rd generation.
In the 50s, one of our sisters who taught Spanish
Right,
would go on the weekends and
Yes.
have catechism.
right.
And
Lorena, right?
um,
Sister Lorena, yeah. I think
I
it
forget
was.
what I forget what her name was. Someone will tell us.
Yeah.
So, what I've observed here is it was very successful right here in the DLC, in the area between Regina and Maria.
Right.
but suddenly you outgrew that space.
Yes.
And how did you happen to arrive at the Academy building? I know you have wonderful space there.
Excellent. It's just total blessing. We are blessed 100-fold. When we unfortunately had to close the Academy, we got a call from the General Council that we could have first choice of the space that we needed. And for us, it was a blessing to get the first floor, because we have over 30 of our sisters who live in Maria or Regina who want to be tutors and who are the best of the best teachers here. And they could come in their amigos or walkers or wheelchairs and come in, handicap entrance right on the first floor. So that's the blessing space that we have, and we have about 130 that we tutor every year. So,
well, I want to thank you in the name of all of us for the work you and Sister Marie Damien of Happy Memory have begun here for the Lenawee County. It's quite remarkable. But I would be amiss if I didn't ask, was your life not changed in September of 2005?
Oh.
You were living in Regina at the time.
Actually, I was living off campus with another 2 sisters, and we were in a house that we were renting, and got word that they were going to put the house on the market, and we had 30 days to move. And again, from the providence of God, we got word that 5 Iraqi sisters were coming, perhaps even 6. Sister Donna Markham said, would you be willing to be one of the receiving communities? And we said, well, we would love that, but we've just been told we have to move. And she said, well, that's even better, again, in the providence of God, because we were able to be grandmothered into the Regina building and became one of the recipient communities of our incredibly wonderful Iraqi sisters. And so I had the privilege of living with 3 of them at different points, Nadia and Marianne Jume. For a little while, Diana, and a frequent visitor was Aman Miriam. And Luma and Zina and Rehab when they would come and visit the campus. So my life will never be the same. They have brought to all of us, not just to me, a whole awareness of another culture and the incredible, superior, just commitment that they have to their people, the suffering that they have gone through. I pray for them every day. I wear my little I have family in Iraq button, because when their major superior came to visit for the first time, she begged me to pray for her. She said, I know you pray for all of our people, but I need prayers just for me. And I said, Maria Hanna, I do this every day for you. So are we not blessed? Oh,
we are blessed.
100-fold.
And Laura Pouts lived with you at that time, didn't she?
She did, and with the 2 of us were the ones that initially moved over to Regina.
I know she did a lot of research of where we could get telephone cards and places. Well, she even got this wonderful book for us that had pictures of.
That's right.
To help us as well as to help
in Arabic.
Arabic, yes.
Right, Arabic and English.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you still stay connected with the sisters, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And was able, on a good day, we're able to try and get a communication. And I was really lucky because I called Nadia on Sunday, was able to talk to her without the phones going dead.
Where is Nadia now?
Nadia's in Baghdad at their hospital, at the Sisters Hospital there.
And she received a physician assistant degree from Barry, didn't she?
We walked her through that study, and she was able to learn English, all of them. And they all studied at the Literacy Center, which was marvelous, and then went on to wonderful things and are back serving their people, which was their dream from the first minute they arrived here. So.
What message would you like to send them as we end this interview?
Oh, that I love them.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for your ministry in the Literacy Center, Carleen. We are also grateful. God
I'm
bless
happy
you.
to do it.